everyone. My name is Ramin Zahed. I'm the editor-in-chief of Animation Magazine, and I'm very pleased to introduce you to our 2023 Rising Stars of Animation class. This is a feature that we do every spring, and we introduce you to some amazing women and men who have wonderful projects coming up this year, and they range from TV shows, movies, shorts, and they're production designers, art directors, show creators, and directors. And this year is no different. We have some amazing people involved with movies such as Spellbound, Nimona, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and TV shows such as Win or Lose, Primos, My Dad the Bounty Hunter, Gabby's Dollhouse, Sonic Prime, and many more. We hope you enjoy what they have to say. They're going to talk about their careers and give us some great advice about how to thrive in this crazy, ever-changing business. And just let us get to know them. So I want to thank them for their time and support and for joining us today. And you can read more about them in our April issue of the magazine, which has the Super Mario Brothers movie on the cover. You can order it on our website, www.animationmagazine.net. And keep supporting us, keep reading us, and enjoy our amazing Rising Stars of Animation. Thank you.
Yo, my name is Akira, my pronouns are they, them, and I'm here to talk to you today as one of Animation Magazine's Rising Stars of 2023. I'm a director on Netflix's animated series, My Dad the Bounty Hunter, and how I got that job is one of the creators, Everett Downing, reached out to me, and alongside the other creator, Patrick Harpin, they told me about this sprawling sci-fi action adventure series that centers on a Black family, which is something that as a kid I always wanted to see, so I leapt at the opportunity. Some of the things I love about this job is that I get to work alongside incredibly talented people. I mean, honestly, from top to bottom, this show is chock full of talent, like people I've always wanted to work with, and there's a spirit of wanting to learn from each other and also improve ourselves. Like our leadership made a point to pull back the curtain so that each department could kind of see what every other one was up to and get inspired by it. I mean, we had beautifully written scripts that fed into story, fed into art, back into story, to edit, to layout, animation, not to mention the incredible vocal cast. Like, it was basically a positive feedback loop of sheer talent and inspiration. So some of the challenges, I think, as you know, this is something that most artists in creative space, but as story people, we tend to pour a lot of ourselves into our work. And, you know, sometimes that can lead to burnout or overextending yourself. And personally, to quote one of my favorite films, I want to do everything, everywhere, all at once. And unfortunately, you know, we're not omnipresent beings, so I have to ascribe to the philosophy that I have one life and I'm just one person. And that life should always be a priority, not just my own, but other people's as well. Because as artists, we draw from life, we imitate it, we use it to inspire others. So we got to treat that life like it's something precious. Yeah, so that honestly, it's something that I work at every single day. Some advice that I would give to anyone who works in the industry, I mean, or somebody who wants to work as a leader, work alongside your producers to implement a workflow that accounts for humanness and mistakes. Our production is our backbone, so they're there to support you and make the process as smooth as possible to execute the showrunner's vision and give a wonderful story to the audiences, you know? So, I didn't get that. Could you try Siri. So basically, as a leader, you want to understand when it's time for your team to put their foot on the gas and when it's time to let them cruise. Make sure they can feel comfortable to ask questions and get silly and give good or bad ideas without feeling like they're gonna be judged for it or be seen as lesser at for their jobs, because we're meant to explore and find new things and get creative with our work. My advice to newer artists would be, it might feel like it at times, but you're not an island. The more you understand the needs and abilities of your crewmates, the better you can direct your efforts to enhancing the whole. I find that artists who work with that mindset will always find work because they gain a reputation of improving their environment that they come into. So that's it. Thanks, y'all.
Hey, my name is David Chung, and my name is David Chung, and I am an art director here at DreamWorks Television, and I am currently working on a project that is unannounced. How I got into the industry is totally by chance. I never went to school for animation. I went to school for illustration, and when I moved out to LA, I was doing a lot of freelance illustration work and selling art in galleries. Stop it. A lot of the people that I were showing with in these galleries, many of them happened to work in the animation industry, and so when the opportunity arose for them asking for help, of course I said yes, and so here I am, 16 years later. But how I landed on the current series I'm on now is a huge departure from what I was previously doing. I was working on a lot of preschool shows. I was on Dragons Rescue Riders and Gabby's Dollhouse, both of which I art directed on. And when I was made aware of the current series I'm on as a horror series based around a family and their adventures, I of course jumped on that. I've been a huge horror fan, and so once this show was pitched to me, I knew I needed to be on it. So the series is a CG animated show, and all those comic books that we loved so much when we were developing the look of this show, we wanted to really pay homage to, but do it in a different take, using the CG pipeline and being able to really explore and experiment with the visuals of this show so that we could really try to do something that felt fresh, new, and also nostalgic. I love everything about working on this show. We have such a talented crew. All the viz dev designers that I'm able to work with every day are just some of the most talented, lovely people on earth, and they just have such a great dark side that is so cool too. The creators of the show are probably some of the kindest, best people I've ever had the pleasure of being able to work for, and being able to just be in an environment where nobody has big, massive egos is great. But some of the challenges arise from us exploring new visual styles that haven't quite been explored yet in DreamWorks. Especially for a television series, that's something that's been quite a challenge, just because everybody's doing this for the first time, breaking the pipeline and trying to create something new and fresh. That has been really difficult to do, but I think because everyone is so passionate about this project, everybody just went for it, and it made the best looking show possible. One of the best bits of advice I could probably give to anybody that wants to get into animation is to continue creating work outside of animation. Do the things that excite you and create the artwork that you want to create. Anybody can do what you're being hired to do. The skills are learned, and anybody can come in and do them, but what you can't replace is the human being behind the work. Every artist, their DNA is what makes up the show, and that's what makes it so unique and distinct from everything out there. So yeah, that's my biggest bit of advice, is just for you to continue making artwork outside of work. Don't make work your life.
Hey everybody, my name's Natasha Kline. I'm the creator and executive producer of Disney branded television's Primos. And how did I get this job? Well, I've been working in the animation industry for nearly 15 years now. I have the gray hair to prove it. I mainly worked as a storyboard artist on lots of different projects. The first thing I ever worked on was South Park, where I worked for almost 7 years. I worked on BoJack Horseman, Star versus the Forces of Evil, Big City Greens, Hey Arnold the Jungle Movie, the Lego Ninjago movie, amongst other things. Mainly as a storyboard artist, but also sometimes as a designer. I also was a director on a few of those too. It was really great to work on so many different projects and to learn from all of their creators and directors. It's just always really exciting to be part of the world that each person was building, because making a show is very much like building your own little world. And since I was a kid, I always had the dream to pitch my own show, to make my own world. And finally, after working for a really long time in 2017, the Upright Citizens Brigade reached out to me and asked me to do stand-up, which I thought was really funny because I'm really shy, terrible stage fright. So it wasn't going to happen. But I was like, well, I'll make an animated short instead. I'm not going to get up on stage, but here's a cartoon for you to screen in lieu of me talking in front of a bunch of people. So after I made that short, from that cartoon was a character that was basically based on me, as most of these characters are, because creators are probably pretty narcissistic. After I screened, I started thinking, what's this character's family like? What's the world that this character lives in? So I started digging into that and seeing that, I might have an idea for a show here. I pitched it to Lauren Martinez and Eric Coleman when they were at Disney that same year in 2017. And from there, I went through development and then got greenlit in 2020, September 2020. And then we started production the following year in February. And that is how I got my job, which, leads me to what I love about this job. We've been in production for a little over a year now. And working with the crew is my favorite thing about this job. They're just really special people. And just like the humor, the talent, the just general niceness of everyone. I mean, it's just a joy to work with everybody. It makes me feel super lucky to have the support and to have all these people surrounding me. It's really, really wonderful. And honestly, it gives me a reason to get up every day. I just love these people. It's my favorite part, which is really funny. It's funny to recognize that the people I work with are my favorite part, because honestly, that's part of the challenge for me too. My biggest challenge as a showrunner is struggling with shyness and social anxiety. It's always been a part of who I am. So now that I have a job where the job is literally about talking to people and speaking up, for my crew, for myself, for the vision of the show, it's really a challenge for me. My natural urge is just to that gif of Homer Simpson disappearing into the bushes. I mean, that's pretty much how I feel all the time. I would just sink into the bushes if I could every single time. So yeah, talking to people, trying to be a good leader while I'm struggling with this. It's definitely a challenge I face every single day. It's a weird segue, but the best advice I can give for someone who wants to work in animation is to always find opportunities to learn, especially when your work is being criticized. As artists, we get a lot of feedback or notes, some of which could even be kind of traumatizing. I've gotten some pretty intense notes before, because the industry can be a tough place to try to grow in. So it's important to develop a tough skin and take all information you receive, positive or negative, as potential for growth and learning. Art making is a very personal practice, so it's easy to take things personally. But the thing to remember about the industry is that it's an industry. It sounds mean, but it's true. Showrunners and executive producers and recruiters are looking for people who can deliver what the vision of whatever show that they're hiring for is, no matter what position you're looking for, whether you're a character designer, storyboard artist, anything. They're looking for you to fit a certain mold. So it really helps to learn how to be a chameleon in your art practice. if you can learn to work in many different styles, that creates potential for longevity in your career. That's the philosophy I've kind of like run my career by. So far, it's worked out. But it's been a lot of luck too. But I think I also keep working because I've been able to blend into whatever show style I'm working on. And now I have the insane luck of setting my own style and my own show. So, I think that like career longevity is cool. Like, it's nice. But anyway, I hope that helps. Good luck in all of your ambitions. And also, thank you, Animation Magazine, for the feature. Yeah. See y'all later.
Hey, I'm Michael Yates, and I'm the co-director, co-writer, and co-showrunner of Pixar's first long-form series, Win or Lose. What I love about Win or Lose is just it's a fun, character-filled world where I feel like I just get to explore so many different perspectives, and because of that, it really never gets boring. The biggest challenge, just how big and interconnected the show is. Sometimes it feels like we need one of those like detective corkboards with photos and newspaper clippings and like that red thread connecting all the evidence, except for us, instead of suspects, it's like storylines and characters, and it's really complicated, and sometimes I wonder, like, was this the right idea? But it's too late now. I was told early on in my career was just always look to learn. Every project and every person you work with has something to offer. Even the bad experiences can teach you what not to do. And yeah, that's all I got. Bye!
Hey, I'm Carrie Hobson, the EP and showrunner of Win or Lose alongside Michael Yates. How did I get the job? I guess it was a bit of the right place, right time combined with preparedness to jump when asked. Pixar was searching for ideas for what could be their first series on Disney Plus, and Mike and I were eager to pitch an idea. So we worked, weekends crafting what became Win or Lose, and made it through multiple rounds of pitching until it finally got greenlit in 2019. What I love about the show is the team. You hear this a lot, but it's really true that it's less about what you make and more important how you do it and who you make it with. Don't get me wrong, like the product you give the world, it does matter a lot, but I think I'd feel a little shallow if it was like a torturous experience getting there. So, everyone on the team works really hard, and we're just doing our best to make the best show we can. Biggest challenge for our show is we are making a show longer than a Pixar feature, but with a smaller team. So that means we have to do more with less, and I think that's pretty exciting because it means every individual is a bigger contributor. There's no weak links. Everyone pitches in and people wear multiple hats. So that makes a more personal project overall for every person. Advice if you want to work in animation. I remember in school, I loved geeking out with my friends over filmmaking, like what works, what doesn't work, analyzing scenes. And I'd say keep that energy alive, and just, also live life. You'll have more of a point of view if you get outside of just the animation bubble. Garden, talk to people, listen to other people, travel, read books. Yeah, thank you all.
Hey, my name is Miguel Ortega. I'm a director, and this is my partner, Tran.
Hello, everyone.
Tran is a production designer, and we co-write and
Create our films together.
We are half empty studios, half Miguel, half Tran, and since we're pessimistic, we're
It's
half
half
empty.
empty.
So, okay, how we got this job. So we just work for ourselves. We have a small company called Half Empty Studios. We only focus on our own projects, and that's it. We don't work for anybody else. We'll occasionally do freelance stuff, but we rather make less money and only work on our own projects.
What we love about
What we
the
love
job.
about it is our creative freedom that this allows us to have. We don't have to report to anybody. We could do whatever we want. Our last project, The Voice in the Hollow, Swahili film, horror, violence as hell. If we had to get that approved by anybody, nobody would have said yes. So we love the fact that we could just do it that way. What are our biggest challenges? Well, since we do everything ourselves, we are very low budget, so we never have a lot of money for a big team.
Yeah, so we don't. We have very limited resources.
Yeah, so it usually is just us two, and then we'll hire people to do a certain task, usually rigging or animation or effects, and then we could only hire them for a very short amount of time, and then it's just basically us having to figure out how to do everything else. Okay, another question. What kind of advice do you give to people that want to work in animation? I think you should do it. Tran?
Or what was the best advice I ever got about working animation?
The best advice we ever got about working in animation is if you're going to do an indie type film like we do, just don't bite off more than you can chew. Do something small.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. It's always more hard than it appears. And a lot of people are going to tell you they're going to help you on your projects. They're probably not. So,
yes.
Yeah. So keep it simple. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. That's it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Wayne Michael Lee. I am a director at Atomic Cartoons in Ottawa, and I was a series director on Pinecone and Pony. How I got this job. So I got this job by interview process. They interviewed a series of other directors, and I had to interview for the role as well. I sort of worked my way up from animation, actually. I started as an animator, animation supervisor, worked my way up to animation director, but for this particular job, I had to interview with a series of other directors for the role. And this was my first time series directing, so it was a bit daunting at the time. And what I had to do was interview in front of Kate Beaton herself, adapting The Princess and the Pony, a series of DreamWorks executives and executives from first generation films. And what I had to do was go through a couple interviews, but one of the most important things I had to do was present how I sort of envisioned adapting the book and taking it to series. And what that sort of entailed was sort of outlining sort of point by point how I saw that process working, and then also presenting sort of a vision or a mood board of where I saw myself and our crew taking that series to its completion. And I think in particular for this show, it was interesting because for Kate herself, it was her first time working in animation, and you know, they had to interview a series of other directors. And I know what was interesting with this was after that first interview, Kate actually reached out to me herself, which was really funny, and wanted to talk a little bit more about how I would sort of adapt the series aside from all the other executives, which is normally not something you would do, but I think Kate saw something in me and wanted to kind of help me develop that vision more for the next time I had to interview with everyone else. So it was kind of out the sort of guidelines of the interview process, but I think, you know, it was Kate's book, and she saw what I was presenting and wanted to kind of help give me a little bit of a boost. So like I appreciate Kate for that a lot, and I'm her biggest fan. But that was a huge boost for me, was just being able to present my initial vision to Kate, and then having her reach out to me and say like, I like what you're doing, and I want to help you try and get this job. So let's kind of like nail down how you sort of envision this world, and we'll work to kind of present that vision to everyone else as well too. So that's kind of how I kind of landed into this role, was sort of a gauntlet of interview processes, and then working with Kate to sort of showcase how I would take her book and then adapt it to series. What I love about this job. So I think one of my favorite things about this job, particularly in this role, is the collaboration. You know, as when I came from working in animation or an animation supervisor, you're kind of confined to the realm of animation, and you can be collaborative there as well. But I think working as a director, I get to kind of oversee and work with so many different departments and see a little bit of what everyone is doing. Well, everything of what everyone is doing, actually. But I think it's just that process, seeing everything from, you know, script to screen, that's probably my favorite part of the job is just being able to be there from the beginning and then seeing it right through to the end. And that's probably the favorite part. What are the biggest challenges? So I would say some of the biggest challenges for this job would be, it's always budget, schedule, and deadlines. I think that's just sort of usually how it goes in animation. It's like you're kind of, as a creative, you're kind of working up against multiple deadlines all the time. So it's just trying to make the best possible decisions and directions you can under sort of tight deadlines. And, that's problem solving. And I think that's where a lot of the challenges come from. It's like you're working with everyone to kind of make the best possible thing that you can make under tight deadlines sometimes. And I think that's, it's challenging, but it can also be like a puzzle to solve sometimes. And I think that's really a lot of fun, even though it's challenging. Another thing with challenges too is, especially working on Pinecone and Pony, is trying to adapt another property. So adapting The Princess and the Pony from Kate's book into a show for screen. Because one of the things I discussed with Kate early on was, she said, the book is its own thing, and I want you guys to kind of take it and make it its own world, separate from kind of what it is. And that's another challenge, just sort of like being given sort of carte blanche in some ways to kind of take something that's really beloved and that a lot of people really glom onto, and then trying to make that into a full-blown series, right? And just trying to find like what is the heart of the thing that you're trying to adapt to screen, and how can you sort of like translate that into something that people want to watch and hopefully enjoy, right? And I think that's another challenge. That was the biggest challenge, I think, is just the adaptation of something that people already love, because there's sort of like a built-in preconceived notion of what it is. So yeah. What kind of advice do I want to give to people who are wanting to work in animation? So I think probably the biggest advice that I can give to someone working in animation is probably not like exactly related to the career itself, but it will impact how you work in animation, and that is like taking care of yourself first and foremost. Because animation, the industry is very challenging and very demanding sometimes. It doesn't matter what department you're in, whether it's animation, design, storyboard, whatever. Like, it can be quite demanding sometimes, and you need to look after yourself because if you want to produce your best work, you need to be your best self. And I think that's something that I myself have kind of like learned along the way, is just sort of making sure that I'm taking care of myself, because especially if you're in leadership as well too, you want to be able to take care of your crew. So just like, that's the biggest advice that I can give, is just making sure you're taking care of yourself, because you want to produce your best work, and that's the only way you can do it, is if you are well looked after.
Hi, my name is Lauren Sassen, and I'm a storyboard artist at Sony Pictures Animation. I got this job, I think, by applying online through the site, and eventually one of the executives at Sony reached out to me, called me in for an interview, and after a little bit, I joined the team on Vivo, and then I've been working there ever since. I think what I love about storyboarding in general is I just love to draw. It's my favorite thing to do, and so the fact that I get to do it for a job is really amazing. And yeah, I get to draw, write jokes, and I just feel very lucky that that's the job that I have. It's very fun. I think a thing that's challenging about storyboarding is storyboarding. Storyboarding is such a fun and challenging job, which is why I love it so much. It's like you have to wear a lot of different hats. You have to, choose your shots, rough out layouts, character acting. It's so many things which make it so challenging, but also what makes it like such a exciting and fun job. I like the challenge. My advice for people starting out in animation would be to draw what you're passionate about and what you love. When you do that, it really shows in your work, and especially when you're putting together a portfolio, it's when you put yourself in it and you're drawing something you care about, it really shows, and that's what people are looking for when they're hiring, in my opinion. The best advice I've ever gotten in animation, the best advice I've ever gotten doesn't necessarily have to work for animation, but when I was first starting out, my dad said to be kind, work hard, and make yourself indispensable. And that's just always stuck with me. So that's what I kind of strive to do at every job I get. And that's it. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone, my name is Luis Gadea. I'm a character designer for Bugs Bunny Builders, a show for Warner Brothers Animation. I got this job through a freelance. It was right before the pandemic hit that Warner Brothers sent me an email. At the time I was doing freelance for feature films and TV series, and then I got this email from Warner Brothers asking me to redesign the Looney Tunes for a younger audience. So I helped them for about maybe 4 months, to create the look of the characters, give my take of the characters, and provide some expressions, some poses, and little scenes of the characters actually interacting between each other. And I did that, and then it wasn't until a year later, beginning of 2021, that I got an email saying that the show was a go, and they went with my style, and they wanted me in LA to help the production. So now I'm here in LA working with Bugs Bunny Builders. What I love about this job, it's been so fun because you get to work with the whole team to put together a piece, right, of animation. So each department provides a little bit of help. So my department helps with characters, and then our director gives notes, and then those things go to someone that puts color, and then another department puts a background in it, and then it's a bunch of people helping, and then someone else animates that. And so it's awesome to see it. Once you hit press and you hit play, and then it's playing on HBO Max, it's been super fun. At the same time, one of the things that has been the most challenging things is, at the beginning, it's the task was redesign the Looney Tunes for a younger audience, but keep some of the classic look. So I'm a fan of the Looney Tunes. I grew up with them. My parents grew up with them. My grandpa grew up with them. So I wanted to keep that classic design aspect of them, but for a younger audience. And sometimes new and old doesn't go together. So I needed to find a midpoint where I could keep some of the classic and simplify stuff for a young audience. So and new generations, right? So finding that balance of the characters, it was super challenging. And then especially being able to show that design to, let's say, my grandpa, and make sure that he understands the character and he can recognize that, and then new generations can start knowing who these characters are. So that was super challenging, but it's been fun to play with all these classic characters. It's been another honor for me. One of the best advices that I got, it was very early on. I have a 2D background, 2D animator background, so you have to draw a lot. And a teacher of mine once told us, if you fell in love with a drawing that you spend a lot of time doing it, grab that drawing, rip it off, and continue. So it's a bit tough, but the idea of, we are here to create art, and not just one piece. We're here to create a bunch of art, which is awesome. It's super fun, but then you gotta make sure that you understand that, it's not just about that drawing, it's about all of the drawings. So if you grab one drawing, then you get rid of it, you don't have to feel bad. You should be able to create a brand new drawing for it with the same quality or even more quality. So it was a great advice. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great career. Pura vida. Ciao.
Hi, my name is Shir Baron. I'm an animator at DreamWorks. One of the things I really like about working here is that I'm able to be part of these amazing projects that reach people all over the world. I recently worked on Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and it was really exciting to see how this film really resonated with a lot of people and touched a lot of hearts. It's the reason I wanted to do animation, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. So how I got to DreamWorks starts way back, all the way in high school. I'm originally from Israel. In Israel, we pick majors in high school, so I majored in art and computer science, and also worked at the movie theater after school hours, and just seeing people come out of the films with huge smiles on their faces, and just like how much it had an effect on people, really just made something click. I just realized that animation is something that I can actually do for a living. And it combines everything I love: art, tech, and movies. So that's when I decided to do animation. But before I actually pursued it, in Israel we have mandatory military service, and I served as a commanding officer in the gender equality unit. After that, I traveled for 3 months in Far East Asia, and I really fell in love with traveling. But I also needed money, so I became a flight attendant, which gave me both of those things in one. And as a flight attendant, I started looking for schools to start pursuing a career in animation and studying animation. And that's how I eventually found Ringling College, where I studied for 4 years. All of these things might seem like a big detour, but they actually all brought me to where I am today. My job in the movie theater made me realize that I want to do animation. My military service gave me communication skills and leadership skills that helped me along the way to really push myself to get here. My travels led me to becoming a flight attendant, and being a flight attendant allowed me to go around the world and look for the best schools out there to study what I want to do. These all just gave me a ton of experiences and a bag full of adventures and stories that I could use later on. And eventually I made my short film, The Train to Chinling, when I was at Ringling, which is based on an experience of mine traveling. And that really opened up a lot of doors for me, such as Riot Games, DreamWorks, and others. My advice: live. Go out, explore, make those experiences that create stories for you to tell. It will make you a better artist and a more creative one. And another big advice that I always like to give is to make friendships and not connections. Remember that the friendships are really important. It's a collaborative field. Building those relationships that take time and are much deeper. And the friends that you make at school, those are the people that will most likely really open up the most doors to you. For me, one of those people was Liron Topaz. He's another Israeli animator, also at DreamWorks. And I reached out to him way back before I even started at Ringling. And he really took me under his wing during my senior year at Ringling College. And I'm really happy to just be able to work with my friend here today. Yeah, be friendly.
My name is Aidan Sugano, and I'm the production designer on Nimona. My first job out of college was with Blue Sky Studios, and I worked on a bunch of movies there before I got the chance to step in and work on Nimona. I was one of the first visual development artists to touch the project and have been there for its entire 7-year production history, and luckily have been able to follow it through its entire journey. What I love about my job is I get to make cartoons for a living. I don't really ever have to grow up. I get to build worlds, I get to bring characters to life and help tell stories, and I get to collaborate with some of the most intelligent people on something that's, in the end, some beautiful collaborative piece of art. The biggest challenge is always kind of making a cohesive vision, because you're building this entire universe from scratch around one specific story. There's a lot of things that you have to think about, and in animation specifically, it's you have the liberty to really use that to your advantage, but it also is an extreme challenge because you have to think about everything from the tiniest literal grain of sand to the big picture, and having that balance of big picture and super granular is tricky. And then on Nimona specifically, it was the look was a challenging piece, was probably the most challenging piece, because it was something that was tied to something that all of us kind of have had an experience in, but it was completely different, and finding kind of creative solutions to toe that line between what your brain wants to see and the reality of kind of the tools and capabilities that you have at your disposal was a tricky one, to just make sure that it felt as grounded as possible, but still um, the look and the visuals didn't get in the way of the story that was being told. The best advice that I would give to someone looking for a career in animation is thoughtful choices, and thinking and ideas are much more important than execution. Anyone can make a pretty picture, but it's very hard and challenging to come up with a really solid reason as to why, and especially being the creative medium that it is, trying to make sure that you can ground your choices in all of those very thoughtful reasons is something that I respect when I see it, around me and the people that I work with. And then the best advice that I ever got working in animation was probably to always be easy to work with, and that person that is reliable in regards to, if there's a problem, then making sure that there's a person that you can go to, and if that person is you, then you are going to be valuable for the rest of your career.
Hello, my name is Ann Dufour, and I'm currently art directing a new series at Disney TVA called Haley's on It. I got this job by applying online and interviewing for it. It was a bit unusual. At this point in my career, I had gotten a lot of different roles because I knew someone on the project or I had been recommended for it. And at the time that I applied to this project, I was living in Canada. And so I was trying really hard to get down to LA, and I didn't know anyone at Disney. I didn't have anyone to reach out to or anything like that. So I applied online, tried to reach out to people online, network online, just did everything online to the best of my abilities. And then eventually I heard back that they wanted to interview me, and that worked out. So that's how I got this job. My favorite thing about art directing this project is definitely the collaboration with the art team. I am incredibly lucky to have some insanely talented artists working on our show, and I'm just constantly blown away by all the amazing work that they do and how hard everybody's working to bring a part of themselves into the show. It's really inspiring to do the design reviews and just see everyone bring their ideas to the project to make it the best thing we can all make together. So yeah, the collaboration is definitely my favorite part. My least favorite thing about art directing is the schedule, and just working on a TV animation project. Everything is super quick, and it just feels like we never have enough time to do everything we want to do. But there are some really good creative solutions that the team comes up with as a result of those time constraints, so it's not all bad. If I could give a piece of advice to anyone who's watching, I would say to be open to opportunities that you didn't see for yourself. I don't know if that's for everyone, but it's been true in my career that I've had the opportunity to work in departments I didn't expect, like production, and I've worked with a development team and recruiting, and I always wanted to be more in the art department, but those experiences actually really helped me in my day-to-day as an art director, which at the time I didn't realize. So I would say if you're being given opportunities to do something, just be open to it. Our industry can be pretty stressful with kind of the contract-based nature of it, but I try to see that as a way to gain some experience in different departments. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Animation Magazine for featuring me along with so many incredible artists. It's an honor.
My name is Brett Nystul, and I'm the production designer at Skydance Animation for a film called Spellbound. Being friendly. No, I just it's connections, and through the years since I've been in it for quite a while, that you just build things over from different studios, and I think those are probably really important to maintain as you traverse through your career. Definitely the people and the challenges. I think there's, every single day is a different challenge, and every single movie is a different group of people. So you have to be, resilient and communicative and collaborative is probably the biggest word. Particularly this job is just being able to traverse the continent and the world. We have part of our studios in Madrid and part of our studios in the East Coast, so it's really fun just to connect with other people, especially across the world. As with any and every single movie I've worked on, it's story. You go through, especially being a production designer or an art director or within the art, story makes changes, and then it's almost you're stepping 10 steps backwards to go 2 steps forward. So you've really got to be competent in just the ultimate goal, and then I think it makes things a lot easier. The best is, I think I kind of touched base on that. It's truly being resilient. You have to, there's the job is like an up and down constant. And so if you're a designer and you're in the creative world, there's days where things aren't going to go the way you want them to, or you're not going to get the approvals you need. And then there's days where everything is a great success. So you've just got to understand that a no doesn't mean a no for tomorrow. That's it. I couldn't tell you. I mean, there's like a giant pool of talented people out there, and I think just knowing that and actually being able to collaborate with all these different kinds of people that have different sets of skills is probably one of the best things about being in animation.
Hi, my name is Rachel Larsen, and I'm one of the creators on the Tiny Chef Show. Within that, I'm a director and an animator, and basically anything that is needed to get Tiny Chef out into the world. I would say the things I love about my job are really taking something just from an idea, something that's like in my head, into something that's tangible. And new and different, and I love creating something new, and I love making people laugh, and I love kind of being able to entertain people and really just develop something that's not in the world yet. And I love that, and I love being my own boss, and I love the variety that the job gives me. Some days I'm animating, some days I'm directing, some days I'm fixing a Tiny Chef puppet, some days I'm making something. So I love the variety of that. And then probably the most challenging part of my job is probably the same thing. It's like not quite knowing if what I'm doing is worth it, or if it's the right thing. There's no real like script. No one's really telling me or the team really what to do. We're just sort of like thinking this is like what we should be doing. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes you get it wrong, or sometimes you think one thing and it's not quite right, and you're trying to find it. It's almost like you're climbing a mountain but like blindfolded, and you're like reaching for holds, and sometimes you get them and sometimes you miss, and it's like painful. But when you get the route right, it's like really invigorating and exciting. And really, I think like the coolest thing we did really was just use social media as the platform, as the way to entertain. And I just had a sense that like that was becoming the new place to entertain people. It was around 2018 when we started the Tiny Chef Show on social media, and I just didn't want to wait for anyone to tell us that what we had was a good idea, or like didn't want to build an animatic. I just wanted to entertain myself. And I think that was a really good mindset to start this thing out, was just like, what do I just love to do, and how do I just wanted to impulsively quickly entertain myself. And that I think translated into like quickly entertaining the audience, and then just keeping that mentality and just building without a lot of like fear, really just doing. It was like started with a group of friends, and we were just doing things that were entertaining ourselves. And I think that was a really good way to do it, because it meant like no matter what, we were having fun, and it translated well, so it was like other people enjoyed it too. And I would say, the best piece of advice I could give is really using social media as your tool, and like as a way to get your creative voice out into the world. I think it's we're in a really cool time in our lives where that is a way for people. All you really need is imagination, and using social media as a tool to entertain people or build your skill set. And I think it's using that, and then building something around something that you love. And I think that will give it sustainability, because it's going to be really hard probably. So if you love the thing you're doing, you love the thing you're building around, then it just gives it sustainability, because you'll keep loving that and you'll keep wanting to do it.